We're an all-volunteer, nonprofit organization. We've been here at this location for nearly 40 years.
And situated in Bonsall, North Carolina, this location is home to the North Carolina Railway Museum.
Here we go!
Today, we are going to ride the New Hope Valley Railway. We will explore the many rolling stock and artifacts in the rail yard. The record for the most cars for a train at the Garden Railroad gets broken multiple times in one day.
Jordan, how many have you got on there now?
I think 75.
75! My word, this is approaching prototypical.
Join us for all of that and more as we explore the North Carolina Railway Museum. We got to talk with Victor Varney from the North Carolina Railway Museum.
I am one of the many volunteers that work here at the North Carolina Railway Museum. We're an all-volunteer, nonprofit organization. We've been here at this location for nearly 40 years, and we run the historic New Hope Valley Railway, which is our railroad that goes up about 4 or 5 miles up to New Hill and back.
Shortly after departing the station in Bonsall, the train passes by the maintenance of Way Yard.
Thank you, 57. Thank you.
Once we reach the end of the line in New Hill, the train stops on the main track. The crew disconnects the engine from the train, and the engine runs around the train on the side track. The job of coupling the engine to the train is a rather delicate one. The engineer slowly creeps up to what was the end of our train to the caboose. The train crew communicates and works together to make sure the whole ride is as comfortable as possible, including when coupling the engine to the train for the return trip.
Conductor, the boats are dispatched. We are leaving the New Hill Yard southbound.
We eventually arrived back in Bonsall. One thing you might have noticed is that the museum operates 2 engines when running the train. Locomotive 671, seen on the siding leading to the maintenance of way yard, is waiting to take charge of the next run to New Hill and return. If we go back to the previous run with 671 headed for New Hill, on the return trip when the locomotive pulls into the station, there's not a runaround track for the 671 to return to the opposite side of the train. For safety concerns, the museum has their locomotives leading the train for the whole trip. This is where locomotive 399 comes in to free up 671, and the process repeats itself. Now, unfortunately, I did not have any footage of locomotive 399 from the ground, so just imagine this being 399 coupling to the train instead. In addition to the New Hope Valley Railway, the museum has a variety of rolling stock and artifacts on display in the rail yard. In the exhibit space in the rail yard, the museum has a gift shop fittingly located inside a historic boxcar.
A magnet, right? Yeah.
It actually was chartered in 1904 to be the New Hope Valley Railroad. That's an homage that we call the New Hope Valley Railway today because of that history. And it was going to be built it was chartered in 1904, and the track was going to go from basically here up to what is now known as Carrboro, West End, because there was a rail tie exchange up there that the Seaboard Airline right here was interested in getting those ties to build their line all over the South. But within a year, that railroad plan to go up to Carrboro was merged with another group of investors for another railroad that was going to start in Durham itself, a little farther north, and come all the way down here and 10 miles further south, but basically to serve the American Tobacco Company, the cigarette manufacturer. And so they changed the name to Durham and South Carolina. So New Hope Valley Railroad never was actually operated that way, but it was the Durham, South Carolina Railroad. And it never got South Carolina, it just got down to about 10 miles south of here.
Right.
And that's how it ran and was known as that up until about 1957 when it was fully absorbed into the Norfolk Southern. And then Southern acquired that railroad in 1974. And this was all going to be abandoned in 1983, and that's about 82, and that's how we saved this line that we operate today. Well, because we're all volunteers, we only run a couple of days a month, and our operating season is basically April to December each year. And the couple of days generally include a Saturday and a Sunday, and 1, 2, or 3 weekday rides are particularly interesting for groups and school kids and things like that. But as far as events go, monthly between April to the end of September, we have our famous Brew and Chew, which is a fundraiser. A food truck comes out, a brewery comes out, and it basically attracts large crowds, and some of the trains often sell out on that, usually one Saturday a month that we do that event. We also, during the course of the year, may run other special trains, particularly Halloween. We're famous for nearly 30 years. We've been running a Halloween train with all kinds of characters up and down the railroad. They're not scary. It's a kid-friendly experience. Kids all come in their costumes to ride the train. Those trains are packed and sold out. Every one of them runs in October. And then the most special thing at the end of the year are Santa trains. Actually, it's Santa's Reindeer Roundup, because the kids ride the train, they look for reindeer out in the forest.
So you recommend purchasing tickets well in advance?
Yeah, tickets for the Halloween trains and Santa trains are already on market. They usually are available for purchase starting in July. Halloween trains will be basically sold out by the end of September. And generally by mid-November, all the Santa trains are gone as well. But people are buying tickets on those right now because they know about it. It's a big family tradition here in the Triangle.
Yes.
In addition to the scheduled train rides, there is an exclusive opportunity for you to take your hand at the throttle of one of the museum locomotives through their Operates a Loco program. This event is hosted on varied dates on Saturdays and Sundays. If you want to experience operating a locomotive and are thinking about buying tickets, I recommend purchasing them as soon as they become available. This opportunity will often sell out numerous months in advance.
There's a beautiful garden scale layout. Can you
Yeah.
tell like the story behind that?
Yeah, that is a G-scale garden railroad. It uses trains that are designed with the track and everything else to stay outside year-round. So it stays there all year long. There's actually, I think, about 7 or 8 loops of different trains running on it. And it actually is, there's about 1,100, 1,200 feet. We believe it's one of the largest outdoor garden railroads in the Southeast. For kids, though, it's just amazing. It's a magnet for them. The kids press their face against the fence. If they see Thomas, they just squeal.
Yes.
And a lot of parents have difficulty getting those kids away from the garden railroad to come actually ride the big train.
Yeah. One of my memories is when I was a little kid and I saw a Bachmann model train of a 10-wheeler of an ET and W&C engine.
Yep.
And
Tweed Sea Railroad.
that was one of my favorites on the model railroad.
Jordan, how many we got on there now?
I think 75.
75! My word, this is approaching prototypical.
As the Garden Railroad is maintained and operated by model railroad volunteers, many of them bring their own model railroading equipment. Today, we are about to witness multiple records for the most amount of cars for a train. Many of the cars and locomotives on display today are owned by model railroad volunteers. There are multiple scales represented at the Garden Railroad. If you own any model trains, you can bring them here to operate by becoming a model railroad volunteer.
One of the problems you have with a train this long oftentimes is the sheer couples.
The couples will come apart. No, he took it apart.
I think he's looking to add some.
He's adding more.
How many minions can you buy?
Let's go back to the G scale and see just how long of a train we have. They would go on to add 4 more cars, so make that a total of 90.
First thing, you need to become a member, and that's real easy. It's very expensive each year, $20. But basically, as a member, that enables you to be under our insurance for liability and everything else to be out here and do whatever the volunteer work you may do. We have about 250 members all over the country, actually. But there's only about 50 or 60 that are frequent volunteers here on the property. It takes us between 20 and 30 people for a train day. Everyone from the guy in the parking lot and the ticket office up to the engineer at the front of the train. And there's a lot of other responsibilities in between. But as a volunteer, you may start out, well, our engineers still do the same thing, emptying trash, cutting grass, whatever needs to be done. Every skill set can be applied. But if you're interested in being in the train operations, you can start as a car host. Not a real complicated thing to do, just be nice to people, make sure they're seated and handstand the train. But you can move up to brakeman, which is an official railroad job that you have to be trained for and take a test. Then you can move up to perhaps conductor, or if beyond that, maybe you want to move up to be an engineer as well. And we train people how to fill all those positions. There's a couple of ways to donate. You can actually go to our website, triangletrain.com, and up in the upper right corner on the home page, there's a little button that says Donate. So you can click that button. It'll take you to a page where it explains what your donations are all about. Many people don't realize that we are a nonprofit or charitable organization. So it's tax deductible if that applies for your tax situation, but you can actually use that location on our website to donate. Another great way to donate, and one that's best for us, because we do get charged a little bit for the processing and credit card fees on our website, you can go to our Facebook page and there'll be a donate button there as well. And in that situation, Facebook is actually very generous to nonprofits. They pay all the credit card fees, they deduct no processing fee, so we get 100% of your dollar donation through the Facebook donate button on our webpage. So those are two ways. You can always use snail mail and mail us a check, but most people find doing it somehow online is more convenient.
Yeah.
And if it's more convenient, maybe they'll give more often and give more. So
Yes.
we want to make it easy and easy.
I want to thank you, Victor, for donating your time for us.
Our time is coming to a close at the North Carolina Railway Museum. Come visit the museum and take a ride on the New Hope Valley Railway. Explore the different pieces of machinery and artifacts on display at the rail yard. Visit the Garden Railroad and see the many different cars and locomotives on display. If your passion for all things railroading goes beyond experiencing the museum as a guest, then consider becoming a volunteer. There are many opportunities for all at the North Carolina Railway Museum. So until next time, see you down the line.
Got about 10 pounds of brake on it.